Hey, what's up guys, Dungeons here, and I'm going to show you my hero team builds that I use for my warrior. So basically, the first hero is just a BIP, which is pretty much just normal BIP. And then we also have a minion master, and I've actually put two skills on it, which is Dark Fury and Withering Aura. So Withering Aura is mainly there because of like the new skill, 7 weapon stance. Normally I want to actually use it, but it's like with the Auspicious Blow, you basically gain energy if the target foe is actually weakened. So that actually makes it really useful to have some like Withering Aura. And then the other builds I use with 7 weapon stance, which I made a video about before, and I'll have it linked in the description down below, of basically all the new builds that you can use with 7 weapon stance. So that's the reason why I added that in. And then it also acts as like a cover enchantment for something like Strength of Honor, because I used to not like running Strength of Honor, and sometimes I don't, because it gets stripped away a lot, especially if you're using a warrior. If you're using like a dervish or something, it's not as bad because you probably run flash enchantments, so they'll get stripped away before Strength of Honor will be stripped away. But otherwise, like this builder here is pretty solid. Otherwise, I would probably, so basically 5 blood magic, you basically need that for the Dark Fury. Otherwise, I was actually running curses, and I would put Enfibling Blood in there, so that's something to consider. And also, I'm going to go to PvX Weka, because these are basically PvX Weka builds. I just changed them up slightly. So I'll basically go there to basically show you guys what that is, and I'll show you the equipment in just a second. But otherwise, you get Norgu, Raza, and Gwen. They have the same builds, except for Gwen has Drain Enchantment instead of Flesh of My Flesh. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. 2 Restoration, 8 Inspiration, 12 Domination, and 10 Fast Casting. Then you get Xandra, you get the max commuing, and then you get 11 spawning power. That's upgraded to 14, 2 restoration, 6 curses. Basically just normal soul twisting, at least this part right here. And then we also have weakened armor and enfibling blood. So weakened armor is basically there for 7 weapon stance in case I use like body blow or something, and then additional damage and then additional conditions, which is good for like Yeti smash and everything. I'm still not sure if it's actually worth running or not. Like, I'm kind of just messing around with it. And then you get Enfibling Blood, which is actually a really good skill. It's additional weakness. And that's also on top of Withering Aura. I'm not sure if you really need both. You probably don't. But I just go with it anyway because that's a cover enchantment. And then that's just additional weakness for in case this gets stripped away. So that way I still have weakness if I'm using something like this hammer build. And then it's basically just a good skill anyway. And you get those additional conditions, which are good for all the warrior builds that I run. And then we basically have the SOS right here. So if you have like if you have the second like ritualist, you could actually just, it would be better to just use the ritualist because you can max out on channeling magic. But otherwise, you got Strafe and Honor right here we have 8 smiting prayers upgraded to 10. And then we also ran some protection prayers for Spirit's Bond and Shield of Absorption. And then basically we have Spirit Siphon for energy, Blood Song for just a random spirit, and then Ancestor's Rage and Splinter Weapon are the 2 main skills you want. And then we have Signet of Spirits. I really don't like it that much on this character, but it's just that Signet of Spirits doesn't cost any energy. And then you also get the Spirits, which are not half bad. Which the problem with using it on like a monk, Signet of Spirits, is that basically the spirits can die really, really quickly. But otherwise, it's still yet like good enough. So as for equipment, go over to Master of Whispers. So we're going to have a Restoration Staff with Aptitude, not Attitude. And also the half casting time of Restoration Magic spells, which is the Adept head. And then you also get enchantments last 20% longer. That's for basically the BIP. And then basically Blood Magic +1/+3. And everything's Tormented. Insignia, and then you have health +30, so highest vigor you can afford, so health +30, health +41, health +50 if you have deep pockets, soul reaping +2, health +10, health +10, so you go with energy +2, but I think health +10 is slightly better, so I'll just go with that. And then we get Livia, so of her we have basically it's basically the Aptitude, not Attitude again, and then also the Adept Staff Head, and then enchantments last 20% longer. So with this right here, if you're not going to run the enchantments like what I have with these right here, then basically you just want to use a 40-40 set. And as for equipment, Death Magic +1/+3, and then make sure you get a Bloodstained Insignia, put it on the head, arms, or on the feet. I put it on the head. And then basically highest vigor you can afford, and then we get the Minion Master Insignia. So you could also do like the Tormented Insignia, and that might actually be slightly better. But I just went ahead and gone with Minion Master. You can do either one. And then you have Soul Reaping +2, health +10, health +10. And then with Norgu, Raza, and Gwen, basically they all have the same staff, which is the Adept of Fortitude with the Aptitude, not Attitude. And you can basically buy this like in Kane Yang Center from like the guy who basically makes weapons. And then you basically add the Adept Staff Head plus the Fortitude, which is the health +30 staff wrapping. So all three of them have the same weapon. And then basically Domination Magic +1, +3. And all of the insignias are the Armor +5, +5, +5, which is the Prodigies. Highest Vigor, Fast Casting +3, Health +10, and Inspiration Magic +1. And it's the same for all three of them. As for Exandra, we basically have this staff right here, which is health +30, health +30. And it's the Aptitude, not Attitude inscription. You can also make this in Kane Yang Center, all the same. And then basically communing +1, +3, and then we basically have the Blessed Insignia for the additional armor. Highest vigor you can afford. Spotting power +3, health +10, health +10. Ogden Stonehealer, we basically have this staff right here for channeling magic. I'm pretty sure you can also make it in Kane Yang Center. It'll just be a different skin. And then basically the Adept Staff Head and enchantments last 20% longer. Protection prayers +1, +3, and all the insignias are anchorites. Blessed might actually be better, or there might be some other ones you can use that are slightly better, but I just went with this. Then highest vigor you can afford. Smiting prayers +2, health +10, health +10. So I'm going to go ahead and test it out real quick in Domain of Anguish. So like full disclaimer, this is in normal mode and I'm not using any concepts at all. And also when it comes to Domain of Anguish, like if you actually know what you're doing, basically that's how you do Domain of Anguish. So if you kind of just like run in here with the heroes, you'll probably wipe, but that'll probably happen with any set of heroes. I don't think any heroes can just blindly walk through Domain of Anguish. So you have to actually kind of like flag them and be kind of smart with them and use like the ST Ritualist and like force them to basically make the spirits like ahead of time. But otherwise, like it kind of just shows that you can actually do harder content in this game using this hero build. But then again, like it's pretty much just like the 7 hero Esurge or kind of like BIP. So, you know, it's pretty much expected to do that. Like, you know, it's just slightly different from those builds. So you can pretty much do like any content with this build setup if you wanted to, for the most part. And with harder stuff like Domain of Anguish, you have to know what you're doing. So towards here at the end, like, you know, some of my heroes died off, but that's because I improperly flagged them because I thought that all the foes were going to spawn on like the other side. But otherwise, I'm not doing all of Foundry because it takes a long time and it's really hard and I just do not want to do that. So I'm just not going to do that. But I have actually done all of Domain of Anguish on my warrior using hero builds very similar to these builds right here. And also, like, towards the end where my heroes almost wiped, that shouldn't have happened. That was because I flagged them, like, in the wrong spot. And because I thought the, you know, enemies are going to spawn in a different location, but they didn't. I haven't done Domain in a while. So what's up, guys? So we have the 7 hero triple Esurge build right here on PvX Weeko. I'll have the link in the description down below. So this is where, like, most of my inspiration for this build basically came from. So basically have the 3 hero Esurge, and this is exactly how I have my build set up. You can also do 40/40s if you want, which if you go over here to the 7 hero BIP melee support, which is basically just about the same setup as the 7 hero Esurge. With them, they actually have the setup that you do with the 40/40, which is basically just slightly different. You'll run like more fast casting and lower inspiration magic. But I use this build right here. And then basically the Necromancer / Paragon. So this is like what they use. Me personally, I usually always cut out Blood of the Master because I just don't really see why you would run Blood of the Master since you have incoming and fallback, which will heal the minions. And then you also have like the basically the BIP healer and his Protectivus Coli and then the life. So you basically get plenty of healing for the minions, and then you also get the protection spirits that will protect the minions on top of that. So I usually take that out right there and I throw in Enfibling Blood instead, like pretty much for all my other characters. You could also take out Stand Your Ground if you want to, technically, since especially if you run Save Yourselves all the time. But I usually still keep it in there because I don't always run Save Yourselves. Plus, that gives me an option for not running it. But in harder content, I usually always run it. And then basically get the variable hero. So we have a weapon-based player, so we're going to use something like this. So this is a Zayrai version. So I haven't really done too much experimenting with the Ritualist version, but this is probably the version I would use. I'd have to do more experimenting, though. But this is basically the monk version, which is pretty much exactly the same build that I showed you guys. Like, you can do a couple, like, different things with it if you wanted to. He basically has UA also as, like, a variant, but it just seems to suck away the energy way too quickly, so I decided not to do it. And then basically you get the BIP. The BIP's exactly the same. Soul twisting, so mine's a bit different. I don't really like having flesh in my flesh on this character. Like, I'd rather have it on, like, an additional, like, Mesmer instead. But otherwise, this is like a really good soul twisting protection build that you can use. And they also use a different version of it with Strength and Honor on this one. I actually think it works pretty well with Strength of Honor because you throw in Signet of Creation. So this is something else I'd consider, is just putting the Strength and Honor on this and then potentially doing something different with like the Monk/Ritualist. But if you're running melee, you're still going to want to have that Splinter Weapon and the Ancestor's Rage, so you could actually use the Necromancer/Ritualist for that if you wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much how that is. And basically, you can check out these builds. I'll have them linked down in the description down below. I think both of them are like really good. I'm actually experimenting with different characters where I actually use this build right here, and I've actually been liking it quite a bit. I just couldn't really get into the whole Necromancer Ritualist, mainly because you don't get Strength of Honor, and I really like Strength of Honor, but you still have it on the ST Ritualist, so I mean, I might give it like another shot again. It's just that it just seemed like something was slightly off. Like, I guess I kind of like it having it all like on the monk, but like, it seems like this setup right here would work just as well, if not even better. So it's something to actually consider. And then with the Necromancer, if you wanted to, you can drop some of the additional heals and basically add in like maybe more curses, like, you know, weaken armor or something. But I'm not sure if that'd actually be worth it. But yeah, otherwise, like, these are basically the builds where I got a lot of inspiration for my builds from. Like, literally, like, my builds are exactly the same as these, just slightly different, basically for the warrior. But otherwise, you know, I'll have everything linked in the description down below. And that's it for the video. Dungeon is signing out.